And we're going to turn now to Dillon.
When I was around 8 years old, my family started doing this study where we would go in, they would just take blood samples and see, what the differences were between my brother and sister who had type 1 diabetes and us who didn't. After a while of doing that, they asked me to come in and do a glucose tolerance test to see why I didn't have type 1 diabetes because, my brother and sister do. After a year or two of doing that one, they said I started developing a marker showing that I could develop type 1 diabetes. So they asked me to come in a little bit more frequently, every 6 months. After another year or two of doing that one, they said that I had developed another marker. So that's when Benaroya Research called and said they had this new study they wanted me to do and see it was supposed to stop this from happening. So I went in and they told me about the study. I would go in for 2 weeks. They would give me an IV and I would be in there for 4 or 5 hours a day, and they'd do an IV drip, give me the medicine, and then right there I was like, whoa. That's I'm already scared of needles. Going in 2 weeks every day is getting a shot is not my thing. So, and then to add on to that, they say if you get the drug, you can get side effects, rashes, nausea, and that I'm already no, this I don't like this. So I went home and my sister came up to me, she asked me, so how'd the appointment go? And I said, it doesn't really sound like something I want to do. It's not really what I don't want to do it. So she talked to me, she said, Dillon, this is, if you do this study, it's not just going to help, you to prevent you from getting it. This is going to help, the entirety of people with type 1 diabetes. It can, hopefully someday maybe even cure it. So I knew I had a choice, but at the same time, I felt like I was obligated to, do this study to help the research. So I ended up going through with the study. After it was over, they told me at first, in a year, I would most likely have type 1 diabetes, and in 2 years for sure. It's been over 2 years and I still do not have type 1 diabetes.
Pretty amazing story. This is why he's a 1%er, right? Because what he did here, he said, I'm scared. I don't want to be in a study that could cause side effects or have problems for me. I don't want to have to get an IV every day for 2 weeks to test a therapy. And everybody who participates in a research study does it, of course, because at some place deep down inside, they want to benefit, to think that that treatment is going to be beneficial to them. But the truth of the matter is, we do research studies because we don't know whether that therapy is going to work. And when you're in a research study, usually half the people are getting the active medication and half aren't. So it's not just, I'm doing this for myself. As Dillon mentioned, this is really doing for others. Those that are currently living with diabetes and those that continue to be at risk for diabetes. And of course, as you've heard, what we learn in diabetes, we can apply to other autoimmune diseases. A colleague of mine actually says, without prevention, there is no cure. And that is clearly a true story. Because as we learn to be able to prevent the disease, it makes the difference that we can apply to people living with the diseases.